You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad you can join me here on another podcast of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you go to our Facebook page to get in contact with the show with comments or suggestions. I won't take much more of your time. Let's get into it. So, happy Thursday, everybody. Thursday night football. Another week of NFL football has arrived upon us, and we are going to get professional football. I'm happy. I know you guys are. Look, it's not the best game that anybody would hope to see. You have the Dolphins going up 95 to play the Jacksonville Jaguars tonight. Oddly enough, I have family near Jacksonville. I've never been inside that building. I've been trying to get into that building for the longest, and I don't know what is keeping me from going to see a Jags game or whatnot. Look, Florida used to be that part of Florida used to be a rest stop for me, pretty much, especially on weekends with me being up in Atlanta. I have family up and down Florida. Jacksonville area is part of that area. And like I said, I've been trying to get into that stadium for the longest. If you listen to the podcast, you know how I feel about stadiums. I love seeing the structures of them and how they look in person as opposed to on TV. And, just taking the great atmosphere of the scenery. But the Jaguars, they are going to have a night game. Like I said, tonight, Thursday night game, they will be hosting the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins gave up, 400 yards passing last week to Josh Allen. I, for one, I'm a believer in Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So that doesn't really surprise me, being that it's the Miami Dolphins that gave up that type of yardage. And not only that, they gave them 100 yards rushing to Buffalo last week. So the Dolphin defense just is... you don't want to bet your last dollar on that defense. That's just say that much. Okay, the Dolphins defense they are who we thought they were. And look, it's going to be a long night for that Bills defense. I'm sorry, not Bills. The Miami Dolphin defense. Gardner Minshew had a fairly decent game last week against Tennessee. You had undrafted James Robinson coming in. And he put up some big numbers. I think he rushed for 100 yards last week against the Tennessee Titans. The Jags' pass defense is kind of suspect. They gave up 4 touchdowns last week to Ryan Tannehill, but they kind of, they kind of held your man Henry in check as far as the run game goes. But look, is anybody really picking Miami in this game? You're going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this. Gardner Minshew looks pretty good so far. Like I said, their undrafted running back James Robinson showed that, he has some things to prove in this league. And look, I look for the Jaguars to win this game against the Miami Dolphins. I can't tell you when the next time the Dolphins will win. They might start this year off the way they started off last season. Hopefully they can find something that fits magic, Maybe that bottle is empty now that he's left Tampa. But give me the Jaguars in this game. I got them winning in Thursday night football against the Miami Dolphins. So switching gears here, we're going to go to the you know what? Before I go to the NBA, let's talk a quick baseball. All the teams now are starting to clinch playoff spots and all that. My Atlanta Braves won the National League East again, 3rd time in a row, but I've seen them win they went off and won a decade, straight of division titles and only have one World Series to show for it. But guess what? We have a world title. Your team doesn't. My team has one. So I don't want to hear nothing about the Braves should have won more titles. Whatever. We won a World Series. Your team didn't. Deal with it. Now, that being said, you see all the other teams are clinching playoff spots. My Braves one of them. And I just want to say, Major League Baseball, it is great. Whenever you have the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs in the playoffs, I don't know what it is about those teams, but they make playoff baseball that much fun. I love watching those two teams in the playoffs. I can remember growing up watching the Indians. They blew the another World Series against the Florida Marlins. They really should have won that. Remember that series went 7. Florida ended up winning at home in Game 7. And then you had the Cubs World Series with the Indians and Cubs, and that series went 7 games. One of the best World Series I'd ever seen between the Cleveland Indians and Chicago Cubs teams. But Jose Ramirez 2 nights ago, walked off the Cleveland Indians. He walked them right into the postseason with a 3-run homer and a 5-3 win over the Chicago White Sox, and it did my heart just all type of greatness to see that. Like I said, I love when the Cubs and the Cleveland Indians are in the Major League playoffs. It's nothing better than that. I mean, you have those two teams with a lot of history, and you know what? I think the Major League Baseball playoffs are going to be good. I think they're going to be pretty good this season. I think it's going to be great, better than their counterpart, which I'm about to talk about, the NBA. I haven't really been feeling the NBA playoffs or the NBA bubble, so to speak, that much, really. I've watched games here and there, but not much of it. I mean, last night you have the Miami Heat. They go up 3-1 on Boston with some heroics in that game. I thought Boston was going to give them a better series. Look, the way it's going, I don't see Miami winning the next game. I see Boston winning at least one more, push the series to 6. Miami closes the deal. They win 4-2. I didn't see the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals at the beginning of the season. If you're not a Heat fan and you don't live in Miami, you're lying if you said you saw the Miami Heat competing for an NBA title. Because you didn't. No one, even though they got Jimmy Buckets and he went down to South Beach, bringing that tough pedigree that he has, you didn't see them fighting for an NBA title. Now, I will say this. They have a little luck on their side because of the NBA bubble. This wasn't a real playoff. I don't think so. Because I think the home crowd really does help. And there is no home court advantage in this bubble. These guys just kind of playing in a rec gym. I know they're at Disney, but it's pretty much a rec gym is what they're playing in. And, there's no real home court advantage here. So, I look, Miami will win the series. You're like me. You didn't see the Heat competing for an NBA title. Now, will they win the NBA title is a different thing. Now, I would love to see Jimmy Buckets upset the Lakers. That will be one series to talk about. I can't wait for that to happen because it's going to happen. Now the Lakers and Nuggets played tonight in Game 4. Now the last game 2 nights ago, you had Jamal Murray and Jeremy Grant. They carried the Nuggets to a 114-106 Game 3 win over the Lakers. Jamal Murray, he's been on just this complete tear. He's put up 28 points, 12 assists, 8 boards. Jeremy Grant showed up with 26 points, 3 boards, and he was 7 of 11 from the field. I saw a quote where Paul Millsap, one of my favorite players to watch, very underrated. He hasn't done much in Denver, but in Atlanta, he was the guy. And he told LeBron, I left the East to get away from you, and you followed me over here to the West. What's the deal? But look, that series is not going to go on much longer. I think LA, look, same like with Boston and Miami. You might have Denver getting one more game, if that, but I see the Lakers closing the deal out, and I see a LA Lakers, Miami Heat NBA Finals, competing for the championship. All right, and last but not least on the podcast, the Chicago Bulls hired Billy Donovan as their head coach. That is a good hire for the young and upstart Chicago Bulls. I don't understand why him and OKC decided mutually to part ways. I thought Donovan did some of the best coaching this year because no one gave OKC a chance this year. I know I didn't, and he did a fine job coaching that team down in OKC. Now the only thing is with him going to Chicago, they got to build. The Chicago has been in this rebuild mode for probably the past 7 years now. It's been about 7 years now. They've been trying to rebuild this thing since Derrick Rose. Unfortunately, his knees just gave in and betrayed him. But the Bulls have notoriously, outside of Michael Jordan and Derrick Rose. Well, I won't say that because the Bulls they made some good picks in the late 80s. But since Jordan retired and, the Bulls came back to normal, the only real guy they drafted for real might have been Derrick Rose. That's it. Outside of that, the Bulls have struggled with their draft picks. So you can't just bring Billy Donovan in there to just say, all right, let's just coach him up. They got to get some talent in Chicago, and hopefully it works out. It's a good hire by the Bulls. I wouldn't mind having Billy Donovan here in Atlanta coaching the Hawks, but that's another story for another day. Hey, look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to the Facebook page and the content for the show. Comments, suggestions. Check this out. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis, and remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.